They say wealth answers questions before they are asked. But in Umuagu village, Okonkwo's wealth only raised more questions. By the time the cocks crowed for the first time that morning, Okonkwo's compound was already awake. Not with laughter, not with celebration, but with silence. A silence so heavy it pressed against the walls of his mansion, thick and suffocating like the harmattan air before sunrise. And inside that silence lay a body, his youngest son, cold, still, gone. Yet by noon, the very day the boy was buried, traders from neighboring villages arrived with cows, palm wine, and gifts. They came to greet Okonkwo, the richest man in Umuagu. No one understood how grief and wealth could walk side by side like that. But the river did, because the river had collected its payment. Okonkwo was not always rich. Once he was just another struggling farmer, his heels cracked from hard labor, his barns empty. His father had died owing debts, leaving him nothing but shame and a rusted cutlass. Year after year, Okonkwo planted yams and prayed the earth would show him mercy. It never did. Then one night, when hunger had reduced him to tears, Okonkwo heard a voice, soft, female, calling his name. It came from the direction of Mirimochichi, the forbidden river. Everyone in Umuagu knew that river. Children were warned never to play near it. Women avoided washing there after dusk. They said the water had eyes and memory. But desperation deafens wisdom. Okonkwo followed the voice. Moonlight cut across the water like silver, and then he saw her. She rose slowly from the river, her skin glowing like polished ivory, her hair flowing like black smoke over her shoulders. Her eyes were calm, too calm for something not human. She spoke, and her voice echoed inside his head. I am Nemmiri. I can make you greater than kings. Okonkwo fell to his knees. Give me wealth, he begged. I will do anything. The river spirit smiled. Anything? She asked. That night, Okonkwo returned home with pockets heavy with gold dust. By morning, his barn was full. By the next planting season, his harvest doubled. Within 3 years, Okonkwo owned land no man dared measure. And then, his mother died suddenly in her sleep. People said it was old age. The river said nothing. Each time Okonkwo returned to Mirimochichi, his wealth multiplied, and each time, someone close to him died. First his mother, then his favorite cousin, crushed beneath a falling palm tree, then his wife's younger sister, drowned without a struggle. Okonkwo saw the pattern. He knew the truth, but greed has a louder voice than guilt. Whenever fear crept into his heart, he looked at his houses, his titles, the way people bowed when he passed, and he returned to the river. Nemmiri never forced him. She only reminded him. The river gives, she would say, her fingers trailing through the water. But it must take. Years passed. Okonkwo became untouchable, a living legend. He sponsored festivals, married more wives, and his name carried weight even in distant towns. People whispered that he was blessed by the gods. They were wrong. He was feeding one. The real crack appeared when Okonkwo's eldest son, Obina, began to ask questions. One evening, Obina spoke carefully. Father, why does death follow our wealth? Okonkwo snapped at him. You talk too much. But Obina watched. He noticed how his father disappeared whenever fortune was about to change. One night, he followed him to the river. Hidden behind the trees, Obina saw his father kneel before the water. He saw the woman rise from the depths. He heard her demand payment. Terrified, Obina ran. The next morning, Obina fell ill. By sunset, he was dead. Okonkwo screamed until his voice broke. For the first time, the river had taken without waiting for his return. Mad with grief, Okonkwo stormed to Mirimochichi that same night. Take everything back, my wealth, my lands, just give me my son. The river was calm. Nemmiri emerged slowly. You agreed, she said softly. The river does not refund. Then she leaned closer and whispered, one more visit, and you will lose the one you love most." Okonkwo staggered away. For weeks, he avoided the river. His wealth began to fade. Crops failed. Businesses collapsed. Friends disappeared. Those who once bowed now whispered behind his back. Poverty knocked again, and Okonkwo opened the door. The final visit happened during a heavy rainstorm. No one saw Okonkwo leave his house. No one saw him return. At dawn, villagers found his red cap floating on the surface of Mirimochichi. His body was never found. But from that day on, the river overflowed with unnatural riches, gold pebbles, shining shells, treasures no one dared touch. And the elders finally understood. Okonkwo was no longer a man. He was the river's newest possession. Because a Mirimochichi never forgets those who feed it with blood.